No, a couch is comfortable. This is a cool couch.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah, I kind of want to know where they got it.
Totally. We can ask Haley. She'll give us the inside
So
scoop.
cool. Yeah, it's a good color.
It's so comfy.
We could just come here and have a movie night.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
No, I'm like, this is such a cool vibe.
I love it. Well, hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh.
It's been a while,
I know.
but
But I was thinking about how long we've known each other,
yes.
which I don't even know how long. I don't even remember when our lives began to cross. It just seems like we've known each other forever.
A really long time.
Yeah.
So my parents, they have been here in Boise since 2001.
Oh, wow.
And that's when they started going to Capitol. I was
Yeah.
away at college.
That's right.
But would obviously come for Christmas
when you were visiting,
break
yep.
and all that different stuff. And then graduated in 2004 from college. So I've been here 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So that's like probably somewhere in there. That
My favorite Charity Tracy times, though,
our favorite season
was when you were my trainer.
Yes, the best. The best.
I was in such good shape.
Me too.
I was thinking about that this morning when I was like, man, remember when I used to be in such good shape when you were a good trainer, by the way.
Thanks.
Like,
You were a good client.
thank you. But I do not look like that anymore. I've had a baby.
20 years
20 years
and
yes,
babies.
Yes, it's okay. And we're beautiful in
change.
every way. Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
Things change.
But I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, that was a fun time.
So fun.
Yep.
So fun. Yeah. We had some really good conversations while like you were just so sweaty
Yes.
and just getting your butt kicked.
Were either of us married? No, neither of us would have been married, right? Were you guys married
I
yet?
think Chris and I were married.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I think you guys were married. I
Yeah.
wasn't married yet. Neither of us had kids though.
No,
You
no
didn't have
kids.
Judah
I didn't
yet.
have Judah
Yeah.
when I had my gym.
Yeah. We did have fun conversations.
Yeah, we did.
It was good times.
It was. It was. And
Look
here
at
we
us
are
now.
again.
We're
no
probably
no
gonna
sweat
laugh.
involved. No sweat
No
involved.
sweat, hopefully.
Well, I mean, maybe we could get some.
Yeah. We'll be really hot.
The fire of God's going to come and we're
And
going
we're
to
in
get
perimenopause
sweaty.
probably. So who knows? Like, by the way, I've never heard of that term until just recently. Have you?
Yeah.
You might have. You're more the
No.
health world. You were in
Well,
that more than me, but
I'm like so disconnected from that world now. But I mean, like kind of, it's like kind of gaining some traction.
Yeah,
and
but-
I'm like, oh, I could maybe be there.
yeah, I'm starting to wonder too. So that's why I'm saying we might get hot. Do we get hot flashes in perimenopause? Is that, or like, I don't know, but
Not menopause yet.
moving on.
Well, welcome to
Yes!
the podcast. No,
That's
no, I'm excited for this conversation. I feel like we could probably just go a bazillion different directions and it would be really good. But I just love, so besides our history and some of the ebbs and flows of just life and things like that, we obviously haven't chatted in a while and randomly connect a little bit here and there on Instagram. But
Yeah.
I'm excited for this conversation because I feel like there's such a richness and a depth that you carry in multiple avenues. So I know you have a couple books. We can chat about some of that, but I love the longevity and the history in ministry and the history that you have with God. So I definitely want to chat a little bit about that. But I would also love for the listeners, this is also up on YouTube, for all of the people that are going to be watching this to learn a little bit more about you and just kind of your story. And here's what I love to start people with is, what do you feel like, so this is obviously is the Meant for More podcast. What do you feel like was a moment, and we have multiple moments throughout our life, but what do you feel like was a moment where you knew that you were meant for more? Like that God was calling you, that he was inviting you into the more of whether it's his heart or your purpose or deeper, whatever that could look like. So something that pops into your mind.
First of all, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's like such an honor, and it is fun to be able to have longevity, like long-term relationships with people, and then get to have, a dynamic like this where we get to talk about and empower women and empower people. I think it's just so cool. So I love what you're doing, and I'm very honored to get to add my voice and whatever the Holy Spirit speaks, let's just talk about it. But yeah, I think there's probably been lots of moments for that meant to more, like you're saying. I think growing up in ministry and in church, I have very distinct encounters I remember with God as a young girl.
Yeah.
And I say that because, and that's not everyone's story, and I know that, but I do think that I think there's women, and you might be in your 30s, 40s, you might also be in perimenopause.
Welcome.
Welcome to the club. And maybe you didn't walk the journey you thought you were going to walk, or maybe maybe life looks a lot different than you thought it was. But I think almost all of us as young girls have glimpses and moments where I think the Holy Spirit, I feel like God drops something in our hearts that we know we're not just put on this planet to just suck oxygen and do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but that God truly has a great plan for our lives. And I think those were that was the genesis for me, is being a young girl, probably at a camp. I mean, I remember one specific camp where I said, and these are the scariest things to say, like, use me. Or,
For sure.
But I'll never forget. I remember crying before the Lord and saying, use me. But in my mind, I was like, but don't take me to the mission field. I didn't want to be a missionary, but I wanted to do, anything else the Lord wanted. But I've never forgotten that moment. And then I think that builds upon other moments. And even this summer, I had a moment where it was like, okay, God, there's these deep dreams in my heart. I've been faithfully serving the mission and the plan you've had for me. And I sort of had this time with, talking with my husband and prayer with the Lord, and finally being like, okay, God, I think the Holy Spirit was saying, okay, the time is now to just step into another. But I think they're often built upon, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think there's not just one moment. I think there is a series of them. There's a sequence almost, because they fit together too.
Yeah.
I think things God speaks to us in our 20s, when he speaks to us as moms who are, postpartum, or we're exhausted, or, or we're in the rat race of getting our kids to stuff. I think God speaks throughout every season of our life.
Yeah.
And so I don't even think one moment is the moment. I think all the moments are the moment, if that, if that makes sense, because I think God speaks through time. And he sees the beginning from the end from the beginning. So I think it's been many for me, but I'll never forget the times as a young girl.
Yeah. So what do you feel like how has that shaped you? Like the yes that you gave the Lord, the dreams, the visions that you feel like the Holy Spirit dropped into your spirit. How has that shaped your yes growing up?
I think it's absolutely the foundational thing that has shaped me.
Yeah. Because
it was saying yes to Jesus. It was a commitment, a covenant, which our culture, we don't
use covenant language.
We don't. And we don't think it really matters. I remember when I was pastoring in LA for several years, and it was the oddest thing to me. I would make a plan with, someone that's a part of our community in our church, and I was the campus pastor, and so I'm going to coffee, I'm doing pastoral counseling, I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm setting appointments to meet with someone, and I'd say, hey, can you meet Thursday at noon? And they'd say, sure, but if you need to cancel, it's okay, you can let me know. And I thought, no, I'll be there. Like, I have it in my phone.
Yeah.
Barring an emergency, like, we're meeting Thursday at noon. And it was after about the seventh time someone would be surprised, I started to go, what is going on? And I realized specifically that culture, but I think it's a generational thing. It was a non-committal, non-covenantal culture.
Yeah.
Where it kind of feels like I'm gonna hold plans loosely, and I'm gonna hold commitment loosely in case something better comes along.
Yep.
And that's not a relationship with Jesus, and that's not the call of God. When God calls us, we're committed to the call. And so there's been many times in my life after feeling like God has called me to something, I wanted to quit it. I didn't want to do it anymore. It was too hard. I didn't like it. I didn't like the people I was doing it with. It's like the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
But God called me, and I made a covenant yes to God. And that's what shapes me, is knowing, and God doesn't just call us and go, okay, little one, just figure it out. He calls us, and he does equip us, and he does give us the tools, and he doesn't say it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
And actually it's the challenges that help us grow and make us better at what God's called us to. So I truly think it's knowing that the yes is it's a covenant promise. Mm-hmm. It's a commitment to God and his plans, not just a flippant, okay, I'm going to do whatever I want, which is our culture, right?
Yeah.
We're very self-focused, therapeutic. If it makes me feel good, if it feels good at the moment, whatever. But that's not what it's like to work the mission of God.
Yeah.
When we say yes to God and when God says yes to us, he doesn't quit on us. We shouldn't quit on him.
Yeah.
So I think it's that covenantal, that commitment, and really holding to that. I mean, that's marriage, right?
Yeah.
When we get in a fight, we're not going, okay, well, forget it.
Yeah. I'm out.
This is done.
This is
We're
so
over.
uncomfortable.
This is
I don't
the
like
worst.
this.
Yeah. But we do that, I think, when it comes to the mission of God. And even in our relationship with God, we get mad at God, we get disappointed, and we think you've failed us. God has never failed us, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's for me. It's that saying that yes means something.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I feel like it's so applicable because I've talked about this so much about how in today's culture, it's this like, oh, only good vibes and only if you feel good and only if I feel good and we're going to be friends. And oh, if there's a disagreement, like I'm out. And I feel like there's something on whether it's friendships, relationships, connections, covenants that like our yes is so half-hearted.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, heart, why am I not in this fully? And I think that when we can actually, when there's something in that covenant yes, or in that covenant friendship, or in that covenant relationship, it actually means that we stick with it even when it gets hard, and especially when it gets hard. When it gets hard. And it's like, I feel like there are so many people, so many friendships, so many things where they're actually stunting their relational growth when, a friendship like butts up against a little hard whatever because we're human and we're not going to get it right. Like
we're going to fail.
Right. We're going to fail. And like, it just is like boggles my mind that people are like, oh, bye. Like I'm out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, where's the depth and where's the richness and where's the stick with it? And not that, and obviously not when people are toxic, not when things are
right,
abusive or whatever it is. But it's like when things are hard, it's okay to actually stick with people and come alongside them.
And to have hard conversations.
Yeah.
And that's the part I think is we don't want to have the hard conversations.
Yeah.
We want to be like, we want to surface level friendships or relationships.
But as it feels good.
The feel good, it's that therapeutic sort of sensation that we want. We want everything to be, and ultimately, I think, doesn't it come back to a little bit of it's all about us?
Yeah.
We really, truly, we wouldn't say that out loud. We would never say that out loud.
Oh, no.
But in the deepest part of us, right? If that's what friendships look like, we've made it about us, not about the ultimate goal. And it's going to be hard, and you're going to have hard conversations, and hard conversations are okay. And sometimes we have to tell people the truth, and sometimes it stings, and we're going to walk through it, right?
Yeah. And it's going to be inconvenient. It's going to be meaning like, oh, like even you today, which I really appreciate. You like woke up and you're like, oh, I kind of have this cold, and you could have so easily canceled, which would have been fine. I would have created more content, but it's like, oh, like you're here. And
I'm committed.
You're committed.
No, exactly. And that is, I see that a lot, and I see it a lot in women.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of probably reasons that we could psychoanalyze, and neither of us are psychologists, so maybe we shouldn't.
Well, I do have a psychology degree.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And I have an MDiv. Does that help us together? We bring like the mind and the spirit. But there is this, and I worry about it a little bit of all of us. And I see it in me and I see it in other women, but it's just, we've got to get to a place where we're so confident in who God's called us to be.
Yep.
It's okay to be us.
Yeah.
The way God's called, he's going to fine tune it. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But it's time to grow.
Yeah.
Let's grow, and let's grow together, and let's be okay with growing. Let's be okay with letting some stuff go. And it's just I've seen interesting dynamic in the church today too, in regards to that. And I think we got to be committed to each other. And what that looks like is having hard conversations and having fun and having some more hard conversations and getting through it and seeing what God does. I think God gets so much glory out of seeing that than anything else.
Mm-hmm. I heard this really good, it's kind of a theory, if you will, or just kind of a comment, but that the generation that's, I guess it would be, we're millennials, right?
Yeah.
So
Barely.
Barely. I know. We're like the bridge
We're
of
like barely there, but we're holding on.
We are. We're the pioneers of the millennials.
We're the pioneers. So funny.
But I want to say it's like our generation and the generation behind us, that they're actually the most orphaned generation, right? Growing up without fathers in the home. And it's that orphan spirit that actually, it's one of the hardest things to call an orphan spirit into community and into covenant. Because the orphan spirit only gathers when there's agreement, but family, sons and daughters, they gather whether or not there's agreement or not. So going back to what you're saying with identity, it's like, actually, really when we're solid in who we are as sons and daughters and how God has created us and who he's called us, then we can actually sit at a table, even if there's disagreement.
Yeah,
and
because conflict is healthy.
Yeah, totally.
That makes so much sense.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, because usually that orphan spirit is also connected to a spirit of rejection.
Right.
And when there's a spirit of rejection, oftentimes there is that insecurity and people cannot deal with conflict. Because any disagreement, it's like triggers that orphan spirit again, like they're being rejected, they're being abandoned, all that. And so that does need to be cut off. That's incredible. I love how you that was a beautiful picture.
Thanks.
And it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Because we are called to be a family. As we know, families are not perfect. Right? Yeah. Families have disagreements. We have, differing opinions, and we're going to bring something else to the table. But conflict is not chaos. Yeah. That doesn't, in conflict, I think is healthy. It's good. I mean, Jesus allowed the disciples to have conflict. And he was there in the midst of it and guided them through. I mean, conflict is not, Paul himself walked through conflict. But we've got to be okay and embrace it in a way, in a beautiful picture of who God is. That God restores it, he brings it through, and he does something beautiful with it.
Yeah.
But that is really good.
Isn't that good?
Steal that, Charity.
You can do it. It's fine.
That's really
Someone
good.
else told it to me. Actually, our family pastor did. He's like so incredible, like with relationship and connection and healthy family culture. And so it's really good. So good. So what would you say, just going back to like sons and daughters and ministry and what God has called you to do? I know you're kind of in this season of transition to where you have been on staff for a really long time. You have an incredible, I so appreciate your longevity in ministry. Because in this next season, God is calling me more into ministry and out more of the marketplace. And not that they're separate, right? Because your marketplace can be your ministry, but more of just this prophetic equipping and training, and which has been really fun. And like I've served and have volunteered, and for years and years and years, my family grew up in the mission field and in YWAM. So we have a history of ministry, but I so appreciate your longevity of being on staff, and because ministry is hard and it's messy and it's with imperfect people, and it's so just take us a little bit into maybe your journey of what it has looked like in ministry for as long as you have, like, and all of your family is in ministry too. Yeah.
And I think that just in and of itself is a really,
that's like a miracle.
Picture. It is. Thank you for saying it. It's one thing when we say it, but it's other. Yeah. Because, I think I'm like a 6th generation preacher on one of my dad's. None of the cousins, we have several of my cousins who are in ministry, and both my siblings, and we don't really even know. It's like my great grandma Taylor was like a circuit preacher, and there's several, pastors in our family. And to be honest, I don't think Chris, Rochelle, and I, my brother and my sister and I all grew up thinking, oh yeah, ministry. We just absolutely. And what I loved about my parents, and I got to give them the most credit and honor my parents.
They're so great.
They're so great. No parent is perfect. My parents are incredible, though. They did such a good job balancing ministry. My dad was a pastor's kid, so he understood some of the pressure and the responsibility. And my mom didn't get saved till she was 17, and so she got thrown in. She married my dad a couple years later and was thrown into full-time ministry as a young Christian. And so they raised us, I think, they did such a good job, and they give credit to God, the grace of God, which as all parents, we should, but yeah, I think it's a miracle when pastors' kids go through the gauntlet of being a pastor's kid.
Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly. I'm not trying to go, oh, poor pastor's kids. Although there's this trending thing about church hurt, there's a lot of that trends around. And I always think you've never known church hurt until you've been a pastor's kid.
Yeah.
I think, it's like everyone else can talk about, but we can't really talk about ours.
Right.
Pastors' kids can't talk about their church hurt, but we're like, we get to see all these podcasts and all these blogs and all these things about all this church hurt. But I'm like, I am amazed. I'm blown away by young people who are pastors' kids and then they go into full-time ministry. That is in and of itself the grace of God.
Yeah.
And that just shows that God is so good and faithful. But I think what happens for those of us who do go into ministry, and I didn't want to be in ministry. I majored in political science. I wanted to go into politics. I was getting ready to go to law school.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like I had a whole other trajectory of my life that I was very excited about and very passionate about, and honestly had a lot of favor in. That was truly what I felt God had called me to. And I walked through some of that season, and I worked for the governor's office here in Idaho, and I had great experience, still have great connections and relationships with people that I met post-college. But I had that pull. That pull just kept drawing me in. And then because of circumstances of my life, I had gone through a tragedy. I was engaged to someone, and he proposed to me on Friday, and then he took his life on a Tuesday, like the following Tuesday. And that sent me on a whole new journey. Yeah. And it truly, it's so cool when you look back at your life and you see how God used that to get me back probably on the path God maybe had always intended me to be on, which was more in full-time ministry. Because I was I don't think I was out of the will of God. Yeah. I just think I had these desires and different things that God had called me into. And then God used that really tragic, honestly horrible season of my life to then go, no, Tracy, you're meant for more. And I put myself in seminary. I enrolled in seminary because I didn't want to be mad at God. I thought one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to go to seminary. I'm going to find that this is just one big cosmic joke. God's not who he is, even though I knew that wasn't true. Or I'm going to find out that God is even better. Yeah. And that's what I discovered. I mean, I fell in love with studying the Bible, and I fell in love with just the transformational work of Jesus, not just in my life, but that he can do that in anyone's life. And so, yeah, I mean, it completely changed the course of my life. Now, through all those seasons, even when I was more on the political track, I was still in ministry because I was working for a nonprofit that our church had, which was the National Prayer Center. So I'd been like on church staff or ministry staff since I started on staff when I was in high school, scheduling for the prayer center. Yeah. So I've literally been on a church staff since I was 16 or 17, I think. And have, in different capacities, I've done everything from, cleaning toilets to answering the phone, being a scheduler. I was an administrator, youth administrator. I did media. I was helped with our worship department. I did everything way before I ever preached, long before I ever pastored. I did just about every other job, just faithfully serving because I love the church. Yeah. I absolutely adore the church. Yeah. I know people are messy, but the church is the bride that Jesus is coming back for, and he loves his church. Yeah. And so I love his church. So I've just done so many different things. But then God really called me into, after seminary, it was like, okay, now it was time to start really walking more in preaching and teaching and pastoring. And so stepping into that for the past, I don't even know how many years, close to 20 years now, of walking that journey. And it's so beautiful. There's nothing like being a pastor because you're with people in their worst days and their best days. Right. That's how I describe it to people. Yeah. In the same day, you could be celebrating a birth of a baby or someone's wedding and the death of a loved one for someone else. Yeah. And so but it's an honor all the way around that you get to be in you get to walk people through the journey. You get to help them get a bigger, better picture of who Jesus is. And so, yeah, I mean, I've been there for a very long time. And it's not easy. You know, it is in a lot of times a thankless job, you know, because people see the things they don't like more than they see the things maybe they do or they appreciate. And that's okay. I mean, you don't go into ministry to be, you know, like someone pat you on the back. You do it because, once again, it's that
because you love the emails from people that say that the sound is so loud.
Oh my gosh. But even more so, like when we were growing up, we would get, like, my sister and I'd be on worship team. This was before we were like in ministry.
Yeah.
We would get, and it wasn't even emails. It was like comment cards.
Yeah.
You know, this was pre-email days.
Pre-email. Because we're older than the internet.
We're older than the internet. We remember when the internet was birthed. People would comment about what we were wearing.
Yeah.
And I mean, my sister and I were very like modest. Like it was like I was so nervous. I remember the first time I got a preaching invitation to preach outside of our church. I was so nervous, not about what I was going to preach about or the content. I was more nervous about what I was going to wear.
Yeah.
Because growing up, it was like people would make comments. I was so covered. And I had brought a girl with me, and I was like, does this look okay? She goes, you're wearing a turtleneck, a jacket over it, a long skirt with a boot that covers. There's no skin showing. And I was like, so we're good. And then I was like, is it too tight or whatever? She's like, relax. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah. It's
the comment cards I grew up with.
It's so true.
So, yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting journey, the ups and downs. There's nothing like it. And I think the reason for the longevity goes back to the covenantal yes.
Yeah.
Saying yes to doing it. And I think you just be faithful for however God asks you to do something. And God will release you when he wants to release you. I think we want to get released, or we want to push, you know, we kind of push our way out of seasons. And God says, no, I release you when I release you.
Yeah.
And God has incredible things. And every pastor, every person in ministry, every staff leader makes mistakes. And always will for the end of time because we are human.
Yeah.
But God gives us grace just like he gives everyone else grace. And we need that grace. I think pastors and leaders need more grace than anyone.
Yeah.
But it's such a gift to be in people's lives, to help lead them. And once again, for me, it's always like, I just love watching people fall in love with Jesus and his word. And I think the most rewarding thing for me in ministry has always been to empower people. I love to see people and see the potential and then help equip them and then release them. And this is my ministry philosophy, which is what I basically kind of did to myself. It's like, work yourself out of a job.
Yep.
Work yourself out. Like, reproduce yourself.
Yep.
Find people that can do the job, not even as good as you. They don't even,
Better.
you know. Yeah, but sometimes they don't even have to do it as good as you yet. Like, we think, oh, we got to find someone who's like does it better than me or whatever. And they will eventually. But usually, when I first started preaching, it's amazing people sat there, you know?
I always loved your preaching.
Well, thank you. But I mean, no one's going to knock it out of the park, you know, the first time they do anything. And I think sometimes.
Hey, I have a quick invitation for you. We'll get back to the episode in just a minute, but I wanted to make sure that you know that as a listener, that you have access to our Meant for More Ministries Prophetic Collective. And if you are a faith-filled woman, obviously you're here listening to this show, you know that you're meant for more. And maybe you're starting to unpack the call that God has in your life. You're starting to unpack what it looks like to hear his voice, to move prophetically, to give prophetic words, to really walk solid in your God-given identity. Well, guess what? If you are wanting a community of like-minded women where you're going to actually get access to more of me as well on an intimate basis, we have our prophetic equipping station where we're actually going to equip you to be a seer and hearer and knower and feeler and to live a prophetic lifestyle, to partner with what God is doing on the planet today and to live out your mandate of bringing heaven to earth. Then you are invited to our Meant for More Prophetic Collective. It's a donation base. It goes right to the ministry, to continuing to expand what it is that we're doing and to equip the bride in her God-given identity and destiny, to know and to recognize when God is speaking and to make earth more like heaven. That's what this is all about. That's what your donation supports. So if you'd like to learn more, just go to wearemeantformore.com/community. You can learn about the Prophetic Collective. You can choose your donation level and come and get plugged in with a like-minded community with myself. I can't wait to connect with you. And again, just go to wearemeantformore.com/community and come get plugged into our Prophetic Collective today. All right, now back to the show.
Time they do anything. And I think sometimes we think, oh, if we're going to reproduce ourselves, we got to find someone who's like 10 times better than us. And it's like, well, or maybe God's called me to mentor them,
right?
To see the gift in them, draw it out, pull it out of them, believe in them, and go, okay, come on, you can do it.
Yeah.
But I think that as for women, that's a hard one for women in ministry because there's such a competition, I think, with women in ministry. Like they don't want to find someone else. And I'm like, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because I love finding young women preachers. I'm like, work me out of a job.
Yeah.
I would love to go sit and go to Pilates and get coffee every day. Take my job. No. But I mean, we're not going to run out of space for people to lead others to Jesus.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've loved about ministry. I think that my most rewarding thing is to empower other people. I love to have mentored someone, poured into them, taught them to preach. There's a girl right now that I'm mentoring that she came to me. She's like, I want to learn to preach. And so I'm meeting with her and helping her. And like, there's nothing more rewarding. It's like having a kid and you see them do something great.
Totally.
When you help someone who's like, hey, I feel this call, I feel this desire. And I walk them through the steps and kind of the process and just encourage them. And then you see them do it. Oh my God.
Yep.
It's better than me getting up there.
Yep.
I'm like, I just love it.
Yeah.
So,
well, and there is I feel like there is that natural transition, right? So a lot of times people go from this orphan mentality to then sons and daughters. And sometimes sons and daughters, like there is a little bit of the like, oh, when's it going to be my turn? And right, there's just like some of that. And then when God has called you into mothering and fathering, I think that's where that really kicks in. Cause there's nothing like that you have poured into somebody and drawn out that potential and like seen God's hand all over their life. And you just get to like come alongside and help develop them and equip them and mentor. And then all of a sudden they're doing it and you're just like, yes, like it's like a mama hen. You're just like so proud.
So proud.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, and I've been so blessed because I had women do that for me.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I was a nobody preacher from, little Boise, Idaho. And I had incredible women like Lisa Bevere and Christine Kane, who I just happened to have a relationship with because, whatever, maybe they came to our church. We've had a long-term relationship with the Beveres, and they've been just such dear friends to our family and just through every season.
Yeah.
And then Christine Kane, I remember hosting her when she came. I was just like in, helping with women in ministry, and I got to be her host, drive her around and everything. And I'll never forget, growing up in ministry, never felt like I never wanted to burden a guest speaker. So I don't like to talk to him a lot or ask him too many questions. So I was like, not trying to overwhelm her. I got done hosting her for like a whole weekend. I love this. I tell this story to Christine Kane. I'm like, I'll never forget this. She's the best. I mean, there's no one like her. Yeah. And at the end, she goes, you haven't asked me any questions. At the end of 3 days, she was here for I think she preached at our women's conference event and then the weekend services. And I'm picking her up. I'm bringing her coffee. And, I'm asking her very casual questions, but nothing about women in ministry or she goes, how come? And she's just so black and white. She's like, how come you didn't ask me any questions? And I was like, oh my gosh, because I didn't want to burden you. I didn't want to bother you. She goes, you had 3 days to get to ask me whatever you wanted. And it was such a good conviction for me. And I remember right then I was like, okay, can I have questions? I have questions now. She goes, too late. She ended up letting me.
Yeah.
But from that, she taught me be bold, which my name means bold as a lion. But I also, growing up in ministry, I also know the tension of what it's like to be the one carrying the message and going to a visiting church and maybe you feel tired, you're away from your family, you got all these other things going on. And so I wanted to be more of a refuge for her rather than, someone who was receiving from her.
Yeah.
And just moments like that. And I'll remember Lisa Bevere calling me when I was pastoring in LA. She's like, hey, I'm close to you. Come drive over to Orange County and spend the day with me and just she just poured into me. And because I had that, I thought, I want to be that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm Lisa or Christine in any capacity, but I want to be that kind of woman leader to the next generation, because who cares if my voice goes for as long as God gives me breath?
Yeah.
But how much better if the voice and the gifts that God's given me are then transferred and poured into other people that will outlive me?
Yeah.
Like, that to me is like the greatest gift, is that not only does God give us something for our generation, but he gives us something to impart to the next generation.
Yeah. Well, and I love it because it's like we're all telling God's story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure, we get to kind of be a part of that and somewhat be the mouthpiece and like the revelation that he gives us that we get to share. But it's like, it's not your story. It's not my story. It's not Christine Kane's story. It's not, and of course we like work them a little bit in there and what God has done, but it's like overall it actually is his story.
It's his mission.
It's his mission. It's his story. It's about him.
Exactly.
And yeah, I love that so much. I do want to go back to, I want to touch briefly on women in ministry, but I actually want to go back to just actually sharing some appreciation that I have for you. So before my family moved here 20 years ago, we were in Virginia in the church that we were at. And I remember not ever wanting to go to the youth group because the youth pastor, his daughter, she was also in my school and she was one of the biggest. She like slept around all the time. And I'm like, he has no clue who his daughter is. And then she comes on Sunday and she pretends to play church. And I'm like, I'm not going to his youth group. Like, so I would sit in service. But I appreciate so much how, and obviously like, we haven't been BFFs by any means, but I feel like we have enough of relationship and enough of closeness that I've seen over the years that watching you from afar and some seasons a little bit closer, that you are who you say you are. And I really, really appreciated that. Like even growing up after graduating college and being in YP and helping lead with like
YP, the amount of names it's had. They're the young
professionals.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I so appreciate, and even back then, like appreciated that you were like who you said you were, who you showed up, not perfect by any means, but you loved the Lord. And it wasn't like who you were, who you be on Sunday was just completely off the rails Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like it was in other pastors' kids that I saw. And so I just really appreciated that.
Thank you for sharing that. That means a lot.
Yeah. So let's dive into women in ministry.
Let's do it.
Well, because I think it's this really fun concept and topic. And even through ministry school, we did some advanced ministry training and some fun classes and really dove into the context of what does the Bible actually say about women in ministry. And so many times people are like, they can't be preachers and women should just not speak.
Which
and all
there's
this
an uptick of that, by the way.
There is. So that's actually why I want to have this conversation. I know it can be itchy for some people, but I love it because let's dive into like the truth of what Jesus actually did for women. And
I mean, this topic alone in just a few verses.
It's a whole can of worms.
Well, no, it's like, that could be a whole hour,
It's going to be a whole series.
I mean, I teach a whole class
it's going to be a whole series
in our college on women in ministry. And it's like, I go so in depth into each of the texts and the different things. I think the most important thing we have to remember, and there is a uptick in this kind of movement of women cannot preach, women cannot lead men, all this kind of, I've been seeing it a lot more the last like probably 2 years than I have in a very long time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say two things first. One, women in ministry is not the hill that I'm willing to die on. It's not. I don't care. At the end of the day, not that I don't care about women in ministry or being a woman. I'm literally a woman in ministry.
Of course.
It's okay to me. Because I've seen two camps, right? Women who are just so mad. They get so angry. Women preachers or women in ministry get so angry.
Women in leadership.
Yeah. They get so angry that others, don't believe in it, or, they're not being maybe represented in the way they want. And I don't think it's worth it. I'm like, if God calls you, just do it, know? And be a part of a church that welcomes that.
Yeah.
And then tune out the other parts, right? But then there's another camp that I feel like just doesn't actually know what the Bible says, and they don't actually know who Jesus is and what Jesus came and did. Because yes, we can talk about Paul's text, which I'm happy to do. However, I just think you get into the nuance, and it's just like, or there is no nuance actually. It's like it's black or white for most people. I think it's very clear in Scripture if you study the text and you understand the historicity, the cultural context, the original language, and even you look at Paul's life. And I always say this, you cannot interpret Paul's words without interpreting his life.
It's good.
And Paul loved women, and he loved women because Jesus loved women.
Yeah.
Paul empowered women because Jesus empowered women. And you see it through Paul. Paul himself mentions, go read Romans 16. Notice how many women that Paul mentions. Who's the woman who's the person who takes the letter of Romans to Rome? It was a woman. It was Phoebe. And that was an apostolic act. That was something that not just anyone could do. And so you have to interpret his words in light of his life. That's all I'm going to say about that, because we could spend, I think, forever. Yeah. But before that, look at Jesus.
Yeah.
And understand the cultural context of the day. How were women treated? In that day, women had less rights than slaves. Think about that for a second. In the day that Jesus is on the move, when Jesus is going to the Samaritan woman at the well, slaves had more rights than women.
Yeah.
And then we know, and you've probably heard great sermons on John 4 and Jesus coming to the well. He should never have been there at that time of day. Why is he there at that time of day? Because those kind of women were the only who could come at that time of day. And a rabbi would never speak to a woman in public. Those are the amount of social taboos that were happening in just one text is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But why I love that John puts that in his gospel is to give us a picture of how much Jesus loves and empowers women. Mm-hmm. She goes on and she goes, and what does she do? She goes to the village and she tells everyone.
Yeah, evangelist.
She's an evangelist. The other one is, you go to John 20. Who's the first one to see our risen Lord?
Yeah.
A woman.
Yeah.
A woman who had been rescued by Jesus.
Yeah.
She knew the pain of her sin. She knew the depth, of her brokenness.
Yeah.
That's probably because of my cold. I can't ever not cry when I talk about John 20 because it's so beautiful. And she mistakes Jesus as a gardener. You remember this text? It's my favorite. Yes. If anyone tells me my favorite, or if anyone asks me if my favorite text is John 20, she goes to the tomb. She doesn't find her risen Lord. And she went there because she was going to go do the ceremonial burial to bury her Savior. And he's not there. And she's just, she's destitute. She's so broken. Not only did she see she saw Jesus die on the cross. Now his body is gone. She thinks it's been stolen. I just put yourself in the text. It's overwhelming to think the emotions she's feeling, the deep depth of her grief. And then appears Jesus. And he says, Mary, who are you, who are you looking for? And she's like, they've taken my Lord. And he says her name and she doesn't recognize him. And she turns and looks. And it says in John, and this is not a mistake. I know it's not a mistake. And John says that she mistook him for a gardener. And I love that because what does the gardener represent? Go all the way back to the garden.
Yeah.
He's taking us all the way. John is giving us this beautiful picture of Jesus has come to take us all the way back to our original job.
Yeah.
Which is to work and keep this beautiful, good earth. And for some reason, he goes to a woman, and it's a woman first. I mean, come on, think about Eve. Or
redeeming.
Eve. Redeeming. So stop blaming us.
I actually have a really fun concept about that if you want to kind of squirrel into that spot.
Can.
Okay, are you ready? So I think John Bevere actually talks about this in one of his books. Like, he was the one that kind of planted a seed, and I went off into this rabbit trail of it. Here's the thing. So God told Adam to not eat the fruit, or but when Eve and the serpent are talking, she says, "Oh, we can't eat it or touch it." Mm-hmm. So there actually is a difference in the command or in her understanding.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, did Adam not tell Eve correctly? Did Eve not hear it correctly? Right. So there's like this gap in communication that caused or that allowed a space for the enemy to come in and to cause to question what God was saying.
What does he say? He goes, did God
really
say
say
that? And it began to, then she began to question.
Yeah.
the
Well, I don't
command
know.
and the-
Did Adam tell me that? And I'm
Yeah.
like, right. So I'm like, oh, it's miscommunication, which
Isn't
is
that
like,
the
if you're
key to
married,
everything?
it's so real.
So true. Isn't that half our battle?
Yes.
That's actually hilarious. Even if it's not exegetically correct, it's got a good point.
Right.
There's a good point there.
There's a good point.
That's so funny. But isn't that crazy? It's like, and that's what I love about the Bible, is how the Bible connects, and it full circle brings it back to Jesus, who Jesus is the one that comes and he restores what might have been broken, stolen, miscommunicated, whatever happened in the garden. Jesus comes and he restores it and he puts us back in our rightful place.
Yeah.
And she's the first preacher in the Bible.
Yeah.
Arguably, scholars want to debate this, whether you're, wherever you fall on the women in ministry scale. Ultimately, it was Mary who was the first to preach the good news gospel of Jesus.
Yeah.
And once again, it's not the hill that we need to die on.
Right.
Because I'm okay, because before me and God, I know what God has called me to.
Yeah.
And I know what God has called. And when I see other women who feel called into ministry and to preach the gospel, and we can go into depth, we can talk about women, if they can be elders, they can lead men. It's like, it's just going to keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
And I just hold it so loosely. And I just say, okay, I'm going to be obedient to what God says.
For sure.
I know what the scripture says. And I know how God has revealed that to me through not just my own little interpretation, but through exegetical practice and exercise and hermeneutics and working through the text and wrestling through.
Yeah.
When I went to seminary, that was one of the things I asked God. I was like, and I took several classes in, just hermeneutics in general, and you have to take Greek and Hebrew. And then I took at least 2 courses in women in ministry. And I was like, okay, and I asked God this. I'm like, if women are not supposed to preach and women are not supposed to be in ministry, I submit to that.
Yeah.
If that's what the text says.
Yeah.
And so I went in so open-minded, got rid of all my, presuppositions and everything that I carried into it. I said, God, show me, reveal it to me.
Yeah.
And it was the John 4 and it was John 20. That's why I cry whenever I say it, because anytime, we should always cry when we think about Jesus.
Yeah.
Because he's so good.
Yeah.
And what he did, not just in his body, what he absorbed in himself so that you and I could live free, whole, and to carry on the mission is just, there will never be enough hallelujahs, enough thank yous, enough gratitude, right? Enough songs that we could sing to thank Jesus for what he has done. And I'm so grateful that the text and the Bible and the early Christians were far ahead when it came to their treatment of women than the culture of the day was.
Yeah.
Because
So good.
if you would have gone outside of Jesus' circle, women were treated better in Jesus' circle and in Paul's circle than they were in the Roman world. And so it's like, let's have this debate, for those of you who don't believe in women in ministry, but how can you debate? How can you argue how well Paul and Jesus, and Paul did it because of Jesus's example of their treatment of women and bringing women into the story and giving women opportunity. Then you have Priscilla and Aquila. We could go there all day. Why does it say her name first? That is so antithetical to the culture of the day.
Right.
You never said the woman's name before the husband's name. And she was the one that preached. So I think that there's enough in the text, more than enough, to show us that if God calls, and I feel the same. What I don't think we ever talk about is that doesn't mean just because you're a man that a man can just be called into ministry or is just naturally. I think it's whoever God calls.
Yeah.
And he equips, whether a man, whether it be a female, whoever God calls. That's who I'm about.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to live my life like that. And I tune out. I mean, I'll hear it. It'll come in my X feed and my little algorithm will show me, that people are like, I just recently preached somewhere and they posted, this is heresy because it's a female preaching. And I just giggled.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Oh, that's so nice.
I'm like,
that's
thank
cute.
you.
Thanks.
I don't need to comment. I don't need to get in an online war.
Totally.
Like, I'm probably not going to change that person's mind.
Yeah.
Nor do I care, because I also received messages about how someone received breakthrough and healing and they were so grateful for the message. And I'm like, okay, God, like, we did what you asked me to do.
Yeah. So good. So speaking of you preaching, this is kind of the transition that you are.
Sorry, my nose is
No,
burning.
you're good. Welcome to real life.
Welcome to real life. This is a real life podcast.
So I know you're in this season of transition. And so what does it look like for you? Because you were on staff and now you're transitioning into, I know you have a couple of really incredible books and you're doing more itinerant stuff and creating more content, and you're actually going to start to co-host. I don't know if you can
I don't know if we can say that yet. So you're just going to I'm just doing lots of fun things. Yeah. That was funny. Hilarious.
Share about like what this transition is looking like for you and what God is inviting you into and how, I'm excited for you and for what's next for you. I know it's been a season of motherhood with you and so what's next for you? And I would just love to just support you, cheer you on,
thank you.
Whatever that looks like in this next
Which
season.
I love about you. I just have to say this. I love your heart to champion women and just like get them on the journey and champion them. I think that's so the heart of God. And I think we need more of that. And you've done it in the business world and you've done it in the marketplace, but I think you've also done it so well with women in the church. And I'm excited to see how God uses that more and more. But
thanks.
So thank you for being such a champion. I don't know. I think this is the best part. The scariest and the best part is that it's very ambiguous still. But I felt like this last year, and I've felt a stirring, you sort of feel like, okay, there might be a change on the horizon.
Yeah.
But you don't know the timeline. You don't know what it is. You don't know when it's going to happen, but you feel it. And sometimes, and then it'll just kind of get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I think that's what happened in me was I have been on a church staff since I was, I think, 16. And then I've been feeling like just this like stirring to start doing things that because of the nature of what it is to be a pastor on staff, it is outside of, taking care of your family and hopefully getting to work out, which even that's a challenge. There's not a lot of extra space. Because you're a shepherd, you're responsible for sheep and you have a lot of responsibilities and there's a lot on the table when you're in, and if you're part of a large church, there's a large plate that each of us carries and it's a beautiful thing and it's so rewarding. But sometimes you can't, in addition, do some of the things maybe that you've had in your heart. And that's how I felt. I felt like there was more books in me and I felt like there was more content. And honestly, I just wanted more time to dream, like to be able to dream about that stuff. My heart really is to teach people to fall in love with the Bible. And so right now I'm working on a 31-day devotional, and I've been saying that for months because it takes a really long time, but I've been working on a devotional that's not just surface level, like here's a little scripture, go on with your day. I really want to help people unpack the text. And I know not everyone has the tools and not everyone really has been able to walk through what it looks like to interpret and to draw out what the text means. And so I try to take all that work out and unpack the scripture for you a little bit so that there's more power in it. And so I'm working on that, but I had never had time to do that.
Yeah.
So I transitioned off full-time staff so that I can focus more on that and travel a little bit. I am a mom. I'm not trying to be an itinerant preacher, like be on the road. It's like, I want to be on the road.
Totally.
I've never had that desire. All the time.
I'm not even good at unpacking my suitcase.
Oh my gosh, I know. I'm getting better. It used to stay like a week. Now it's like I'm
like
one day.
Yeah.
A day
is
like
mine's gotten better.
I can't. But I with all that, I'll say it's still very ambiguous, and I feel like that's what God wanted it to be because He wanted my yes to be in faith.
Yeah.
Because
so
if
good.
I'm kind of the type of person, and my brother has said this about me, he goes, "You have what C.S. Lewis calls the tyranny of loyalty," which I am loyal to the very, very end because of and that probably connects to my covenant. I'm like very much, if I say yes, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
the shadow side of that, I think, can sometimes be God might be trying to get me to do something else, but I'm like, no, I'm doing this. I got to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And so I think God had to push me a little bit to say yes without knowing what it looks like. And that's Psalm 119, right? We look at Psalm 118 and we're like, he's going to just lighten up my path. And I really think that scripture is more like he has a flashlight and he shows me the next
the
step.
next step.
Truly.
Yeah.
And so my yes to what the next steps are is a very ambiguous yes. Like, God, I'm stepping out in faith and I'm trusting you with whatever you want to do in and through my life. So yeah, but there are some exciting things that I'm working on and some projects that will be coming. And I'll let you know more in the future. But right now it's like been so fun to be able to, I am teaching a class at our church that starts this week. And I was telling, some of our staff that, I go, I've never felt more prepared for my class. I usually do a class every semester or every year. And I love it every time. But this one, I was like, I feel so prepared because I had the time to study and really get the heart of God and to prepare for it. So that's the season I'm in. I'm just open to what God has. And it was funny, the day I said yes to it. This is the power. Maybe this is all about the power of yes today. This podcast. I
love it.
The day I said yes, and it was a faith-filled yes, because it's not that I need a job, right? It's like I'm in, it's not like I could just be like, I'm just going to quit today, and
go do Pilates and Starbucks.
Oh, I can't do Starbucks anymore. Pilates and Foreman Function, the district, local people.
Right.
But the day I said yes, I was driving home and I was just praying and talking to God, and somehow I was alone without a child in my car, so that was a miracle. And I just was like, I felt like just this, like a joy bubble up with just anticipation and dreaming again and hope. And then all of a sudden my phone beeps and I get an email, and I was invited to speak at something that was coming up in the next few months. It was actually a pastor's conference. And I felt just like this sense of God going, good job.
Yeah.
You did what I asked you to do. And I know that wasn't easy. And I know you wouldn't have done it unless, I pushed you to do it. But it was so cool how God knew, because he knows my personality. He knows I would, I'm going to stick with him to the very end. But like, God, and you haven't shown me the future, but like, could you show me something? And he did. He's like, here's your lamp. Yeah. Let me show you the next step. And just like reassuring, like God's with me, and he's with us when we say yes, even when we don't know what the future looks like or what the whole plan is. So it's exciting, good. But hopefully more writing, definitely more content. I love teaching the Bible. I love people falling in love with the Bible. And in any way that I can help with that is truly, like, that's my greatest mission, I think, in this season of life.
So good. I love it. Well, I feel like it even brings it full circle to the dreams that you had when you were a little girl.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, I'm dreaming again with God. And I'm sure those are going to start to become real. Like I feel like even in this next season, as you do continue to dream with God, that you're going to start to step into those, to where even the scenes that you saw, the visions that you saw in front of you as a little girl, you're going to be stepping into them, and you're going to be like, oh, like you're going to have this moment where you're like, oh, I am in this scene that I saw with God years and years ago. So I'm excited for you. How can people find you, follow you, get to figure out all the fun books that you're going to be writing and all the fun things?
Yeah, pray for those. I'm on Instagram, Tracy Wilde. Sorry, my last name. I had it before I was married, but so Tracy Wilde on Instagram. I have a website, tracywilde.com, and that will have a lot of that stuff. But mostly, like, I think Instagram is really where I find myself, so you can find me there. I post whatever I'm doing, and
love it.
Yeah, we'll just see what God is doing. Great things. Isn't it a great time to be a woman?
Yes.
And a Christian?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
we're living in the best days.
So good. Well, thank you so much for being here. I just appreciate you and adore you. I'm excited for you and all that God's going to invite you into. So
thank you, Charity.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you.